In this video, I'm going to tell you how AI is actually going to destroy a lot of marketing agencies. I'll talk about why that's the case and what you can do in order to prevent it, because frankly, a lot are going to get hit by an oncoming train. So the first thing I'm going to do is tell you why this is happening and why you need to be concerned about it. And then at the end, I'm going to give you 3 steps that you can take to make sure that you are not going to be on the wrong side of this really, really big change in the industry. If you've been following the changes, the advancements in AI that have been happening at a really, really fast clip in the last 9 or so months, you've seen that there are some incredible things that can be done that just weren't able to be done just last year. And I know in my companies, we've been using AI tools for all kinds of things that we would have had to hire people to do. Now we're having it generate images and creatives for ad testing. We're having it generate copy and outlines, doing research for us, helping with videos. There are a whole set of things that we are doing that before it would have taken a lot of people to do, and now we're replacing that with technology. So what does that mean for you? Well, if you might have been running an agency that we would have hired, then that would actually impact your business significantly because, well, we might choose to go internally and use some of these tools to do work that we would have previously gone to an agency to do. There's actually been some research done on this. OpenAI, which is the company that's released a lot of these really cool tools, paired up with the University of Pennsylvania, and they showed this research about what jobs are going to be replaced by AI and which careers and professions will be severely impacted. And they did find that there's going to be 100% impact on a lot of things that are related to what marketing agencies are doing, specifically anything having to do with writing, and also a lot of impacts on things having to do with creative. So if you're doing branding, etc., these are definitely things that are going to be impacted. So one thing that you might have done is seen all those cool videos on YouTube about all these great things that you can do with these tools. Maybe got some excitement around, can I use these tools to actually deliver for clients? And you absolutely can. And a lot of agencies are starting to do that. But there's a dark side of that. There's a dark side of all of those tools and your ability to use them. And the reason why is because those tools can be used by anybody. Not just by you. There's no barrier to entry. So before you had to do everything manually, and now you found these cool tools, and there's a short window of time when maybe you're using the tools and other agencies aren't, that you'll be able to deliver this work product much better, much faster, more quality, so that you can use more time for thinking. But the fact is, this takes down the barriers. It takes down the barriers so that others can compete on a higher level much more easily. Think about even some agencies from offshore. All of a sudden, their language skills aren't as much of a problem because they can speak in perfect English when you're putting it through an AI. And I have heard from some agencies, oh yeah, well, we've looked at those tools and it isn't really good enough yet. And that's also a really wrong way of thinking about it, because you have to predict where the AI is going to go. These tools didn't even exist a few months ago. And all of a sudden, they're a serious contender for at least assisting with creating deliverables for clients. So if that happened in such a short period of time, and then we've had a new release of some of these AI tools just 6 months after the first version happened, and they're already significantly better, what's it going to look like 6 months from now? What's it going to look like 18 months from now? So you can't really just look at it today and say, oh, it's a cute little thing. You have to be skating where the puck is going and looking for what are these tools going to become and future-proofing your agency against that. So as we start to think about what does that mean for us, for our agencies in the future, it means a couple of things. First of all, clients are going to start to devalue some of the work that we've been doing because whether or not it's right, they're going to have this perception that it's easy to generate. So even though you might do really high quality work, clients don't always appreciate that. And if the perceived value is going down because, oh, a machine can do it, then you have to look for that change in the marketplace. Also, as I mentioned earlier, a lot more competition will be using it, and they can use that to suppress price in the marketplace. So the expectation of what it takes to deliver is going to be, well, it can be done for less. So that's going to cause a lot of price compression in the agency space. So you have to be prepared for this. And that kind of price suppression is going to mean that you have to do things very differently in the future. You can't be doing the same old thing that you've been doing for the last few years. You can't just go there, make a proposal, and expect that it's going to be the same old, because there's going to be a lot of competition, both from the purely digital side, where some folks might be using AIs to actually allow clients clients to do things directly, and some will be using it as a tool. And the differentiator will be harder and harder to see the difference because clients are going to be trained to think, oh, well, a machine can just do that. So there are 3 things that you need to do in order to future-proof your agency against the coming AI tools, which are going to be smarter and smarter every single year. The first thing is to reposition what your agency does as not just doing the work, but as having outcomes and solutions. Because ultimately, what any client is going to want is an outcome or a solution and not just the work being done. So if you're saying, oh, well, we'll write some blogs for you, or we'll do some SEO work, that's going to become more commoditized because a machine or a human powered by a machine can actually do the same thing. That's going to have a lower and lower perceived value versus agencies which position themselves as a solution. Well, we'll help you get this many customers. We'll help you do this kind of brand pivot in the marketplace. Those kinds of agencies are actually going to be attracting the attention because that's the solution that they want. And at this point, at least, only humans can really articulate those solutions. And whatever you use on the back end, it's going to be much more attractive to a customer for a solution-based sale versus a commodity-based sale. So that's item number 1. Now, item number 2 is you really have to be making sure that you're staying in the loop. For a lot of agency owners, you're caught between so many different things, right? You're working for the clients doing actual delivery work or supervising your staff doing delivery work. You're trying to get new clients. You're trying to keep it all together. You're watching the finances. There's so many things you're doing, and it's really hard, other than videos that you find on YouTube, to find out what's going on in the marketplace. But this is one of the biggest threats and opportunities for agency owners probably in the last 20 years. And not being aware of it means you could just get smacked by that train, right? The AI train is coming down the tracks, and if you are just stalled out there and you don't know what's going on, you don't look up to see it, you could get pancaked. But on the other hand, if you're staying in the loop and you're talking with other agency owners, or you're watching sources of information which are specifically geared towards what's the future of agency life going to be like, then that is a really good way to make sure that you're thinking about it. But definitely get in groups with people who are looking to the future of the industry to get best practices about how you can future-proof your agency. And number 3, and this is the biggest one, and this is about capturing intellectual property. The one thing that won't be able to be taken away by AIs is essentially if you can capture any special processes and intellectual property that you have in your agency, shifting from the concept that you were just doing labor and doing the work, little more than outsourced provider, and changing that into, I have my own proprietary intellectual property, my processes, my ways of doing things, whether it's patented, etc. That really changes the game. Now, granted, I'm a little bit biased because I'm a former intellectual property attorney and I worked in Silicon Valley on the tech side for a lot of times before running an agency and selling it. But I've seen again and again that the agencies who really focus on the value of the intellectual property that they have are able to position themselves completely differently in the marketplace. So instead of being a commodity, they can actually demonstrate to clients additional value. And the other really great side benefit of that is if you actually focus on intellectual property and having that intellectual property be a part of what you deliver and how you present to the market, you actually get a much higher valuation if and when you sell your agency. So it not only future-proofs you against a lot of the commoditization that's coming, but it gives your company a much, much larger value and a better positioning in the marketplace. So the thing to do right now is to actually make a decision. You get to decide whether or not your agency will become commoditized or whether you're going to adopt the principle of looking forward and building intellectual property, building something of a real value in your agency so that no matter what happens in the market, you're going to be able to scale and you're going to be able to, when you want to, sell.